Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome to the latest episode of Games Up Podcast. I am Cameron McCullough-Keeble, and I am joined by my best of friends, Lewis Crawford. How are you?
I am good. Very great, in fact.
Yeah, You are indeed. You are very successfully done with university. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm
kind of glad to be done. Glad to be over.
Are you at that point where you're ready for the next thing?
Yeah, well, I did 4 years, and now it's kind of dragged on long enough. I'm kind of good that I'm free and I can go find work.
Yeah, absolutely. We hope that you have had a good week as well since the last time we spoke to you. Let's get in, as we do every week, with the news. And the news begins this week with a week full of birthdays. Crash Bandicoot this week turned 21, and Final Fantasy VII turned 20. Two franchises that have really changed themselves over the last couple of years and had really big resurgences. So congratulations to them both, and happy birthday.
Yeah.
Next piece of news is that leaked listings reveal that Vanquish and Bayonetta are to get up-res ports to the Xbox One and the PS4. My initial reaction to this? Yes! More Vanquish, please.
Yeah. No, I know you're a big fan of that one, and I'm a big fan of Bayonetta as well. And I'm hoping that this maybe suggests that somewhere down the line we could get Bayonetta 2 away from the Nintendo.
Dude, you know what though? I'd say if they done Bayonetta 2 for the Switch? They have, haven't they?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
If they have, that would probably be a really great way to pick it up. Like, it's a more mature console with a more mature game. I'm a little here and there over Bayonetta 2. I'm not sure what I think of it, but I haven't played it. And it's generally a well-regarded game. So, yes, more good games to more good audiences, please. I know we say this every time we talk about Vanquish, but if and when this does come out, because it is just a leaked listing, so it's not been announced officially, but it's basically happening. For the love of God, pick it up, because it's genuinely one of the best games for shooting you will ever play, at least from the last generation, and this is their way of asking if people want more. And it's kind of crappy that we're buying into it and being like, yes, buy this if you want them to invest in games, but buy this over trodden out year-old shit or whatever it is. Vanquish is genuinely different and original, so support it if you feel that way inclined, I would say.
Yeah.
Next piece of news is that this is a bit of a big one here, is that Destiny 2 has released this week to pretty good reviews all round. There's still a bit of judgment being made because of the online services and stuff, but pretty good reviews all round. Although there's been a wee bit of controversy in relation to their handling of microtransactions. A thing in the game called shaders, which is the way that you change your character's aesthetic and look, are now a single-use item which you earn through premium loot boxes a la Overwatch style.
Oh, no.
Or the equivalent of in the community. And the community is split on this one. Some people are saying that it's making them a more valuable item because you have to really think about using them and they're using them more often. But some people are saying it's the monetization of a generally accepted part of the game and they don't like that. So, where do we stand? Before we go any further, I think we should say that I haven't played Destiny 2, I haven't played Destiny 1. But I think this should have been messaged a lot earlier. I think it's kind of crappy that they left it up until the day the game came out for people to find out. There's a very clear reason they've done this, because there's a lot more good news to come out about Destiny than this single piece of bad news. So they can kind of go, oh yeah, that's part of the game, but look at something else. Which is that's how publishers act. So it's not great, but it's understandable. But I think this should have been talked about earlier.
Yeah, definitely. And as someone who's probably quite likely to pick up Destiny 2, I've kind of been interested in Destiny, but heard kind of the negatives, and from what I understand, Destiny 2 is kind of a big step up from that. But yeah, I'm not a fan of loot boxes and all that kind of stuff. And I don't quite know, as I say, because the community is a bit split on it, I'm kind of waiting to see how it kind of pans out a little bit.
As somebody who, I'm massively into Overwatch. And Overwatch is kind of responsible for popularizing loot crates.
Yeah.
It really was the thing that started off the craze of loot boxes being a monetizable thing. And they've made my Overwatch experience better, frankly. I really enjoy picking them up. I really, really enjoy when they have festivals and events and stuff and you get themed items. That keeps me going back every time there's a new thing. But I also have not bought them at any point. I've never really felt the need to. And so I wonder if I would feel differently having, paid for a pack of 30 of them and not got what I wanted out of them. So I can understand how it would go one way or another. I think if they're handled well, they can be a really good way of keeping a premium game open to everyone. DLC splits the player base. We know this kind of stuff. And making money off a game is not going anywhere, and it shouldn't go anywhere. But I think loot boxes can be a better way of handling the monetization of a game and keeping it premium. But it's a very fine line to tread. You're shaking your head at me.
Yeah, because I think the problem is that, you paid for that game. You already put money down for that game. I don't think that... I'm fine with it in things like... damn. I was going to name a game. I can't remember. It's fine if the game's free to play. I'm totally cool with that. But it's when you're kind of asking users to buy the game once and then buy it on top of that, or buy XYZ on top of that. That's kind of the thing that kind of grits at me. That's kind of the problem that I've got with it. Yeah, especially because it's maybe not necessary. It's kind of like also GTA came up with it, didn't it? The whole Wales trying to kind of just kind of farm the people that do pay for these things.
Yeah, GTA 5 is an interesting one because that game makes so much money in sales. Really, GTA is unprecedented in terms of how well and how frequently it sells. But I don't know, I think, yes, I've already bought that game, but I haven't put money into loot crates. So, for Overwatch at least. So, and free-to-plays, yeah, I agree, free-to-play, it's fine. I've, massive Pokemon Go player. You kind of get... This is sort of the same with Pokemon Go, because you can get incubators and things, and there's a random... it's all random number generators at the end of the day. Slightly different, but I'm more than happy to put some money into Pokemon Go because of the hours I've got out of it. I think if you're the kind of person who's into gambling, right? Who's likely to satisfy that itch by risking a bit of money and trying to get something out of this, you're probably more at risk of loot crates. And I was listening to Kind of Funny this week, and they were talking about how at some point this is going to be regulated, which it probably is. In a way, this is gambling. And you've got to be very careful, especially in younger games, with asking people to put money into something that you can't guarantee they'll get anything out of. That being said, there are far more malicious ways to monetize a game, and I think I'm going to have to kind of sit on the fence on this one, because I'm there are pros and cons, which doesn't really help.
Yeah, sure.
The next piece of news this week is that Borderlands 3 is being developed by 90% of Gearbox, according to Randy Pitchford. Now, you've got to go with us on this one, because he doesn't explicitly say that. What he says is... Don't laugh at me like that. Don't worry, you'll nod your head when I explain it. What he says is, Gearbox is entirely focused on one game at the minute. It's the big one, the one we know you all want, and that 90% of Gearbox is working on it. Now, over the last 5-6 years, Gearbox has been responsible for some major franchises, and they are Borderlands, Battleborn, and Aliens Colonial Marines. So if this means anything other than Borderlands, Randy Pitchford is going to have the Pitchfork, the Internet Pitchfork group at his door. I think it's pretty safe to say this is Borderlands 3. We know they're building the tech for Borderlands 3. It's not difficult to understand that this game is in development. And 90% of the team behind it, it seems like it's doing healthily.
Maybe it's Half-Life 3, because they made the first one.
Holy shit, that would actually blow my mind. Oh my god.
I'm pretty sure Valve has that, but they did actually make Half-Life 1.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Randy Pitchford played a big part in Half-Life 1, didn't he?
Yeah. Or maybe it's Duke Nukem Forever 2.
That would be... Do you know what, though? I was thinking about this before, and I was thinking, there's no way it's anything but Borderlands. Actually, though, they could pull a big surprise, and they could probably, Because Duke Nukem makes a lot of sense in their hands. I think it's a franchise that's kind of outlived its use, but it makes a lot of sense in their hands. And Half-Life doesn't make sense in anyone's hands these days. But of all the people likely to take a risk on it, Gearbox are up there. So I'm like 99% sure this is Borderlands, but if it's any of the other 1%, I'll eat my goddamn hat.
Yeah, nah. Yeah, it does sound like it's probably Borderlands, so. That's cool, though. I wonder when we'll see it, then. If he's already kind of announcing.
So 2K said in their latest earnings call that there is going to be a major franchise have its latest installment in 2019. 2K is responsible for a huge amount of companies, so that could be anything. But one of the big ones they're responsible for is Borderlands, and it seems fair to say that early 2019, maybe March 2019, we see Borderlands 3. Maybe next year E3 reveal. I'd like to think we see it earlier than this, but Borderlands is a big game, and it's not going to be the kind of thing they can shit out every 2 years. This needs time to incubate properly, especially if it's going to change at all, which, God, I hope it doesn't, but it's pretty likely that it will.
I'm kind of sad that he's said it, though. I don't know.
What do you
mean? I feel like we get so many. We don't get like any blind reveals anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know though. Like, because I think the reveal itself will be what the content of it is. Like,
yeah, true. But I mean, like.
But I know what you mean. Being like, we're kind of making something. It's like it's Borderlands. We know it's Borderlands.
Yeah. Maybe said a little bit too much. I don't know. I don't know. I always feel like could be a little bit more, but you know. But it's a good time period for Borderlands to come out. I mean, they've finished Battleborn.
No. I think everyone else finished Battleborn before them.
I think it's 3 years since pre-sequel.
Oh God, yeah, I forgot the pre-sequel.
Yeah.
It's got to be, yeah, true.
But I'm still on that, like, I think we had a big discussion about it before. Like, I really want them to change it up a bit. And you're kind of looking at, like, if they give me the same game, I'm happy. Like, and I'm kind of, yeah.
I don't know. I want them to like. This is the really shit thing about being an enthusiast of anything, right? Is it's got to change because it's got to evolve. But like, I'm like the worst Linkin Park fan. Like I don't really just want Hybrid Theory again, but if they make anything but Hybrid Theory,
that's me all over.
Like, what I really want is Borderlands 2, but on lots of planets and with lots of different varieties of environment. What we're going,
I'm totally on that like side of like just that, but like I think I would also kind of, you know, that whole millions of weapons and loot thing, and you're like, yeah, but like half of them I never even look at.
Yeah, true.
You know, I'm kind of on the side where I want to see something a bit more customizable. I want to be able to like put things together myself. But I think if they did that and then they did like different planets, then that'd be like the perfect Borderlands game for me.
Yeah, you know what's funny is that what we're gonna get. Let's put cards on the table. What we're likely to get is something like The Division, right? Where it's a persistent world. You don't own the story in it. You more log into it and you play parts of it. And maybe there's a story you follow, but maybe you go out and do quests.
I am worried about that. I'm worried about like, you know, like at E3 we had this feeling that like, or at least I had this feeling.
Is a persistent world.
Yeah. Everything is like a drop-in, drop-out multiplayer experience. Nothing's really a single-player game.
I can't nod my head hard enough. Yes, absolutely. And it's kind of worrying. And it's worrying. I think it's more telling about where we are, maybe, because it's worrying to me because, like, I don't have the time for that. Like, I love games, and by God, if I could get into all of these, I would. But I put a lot of time into Overwatch already. There's no way I could do 4 more of those. Like, honest to God, I've been looking over the last couple of weeks of what's the best, not too expensive, but will only take a couple of hours indie game where I can get something different out of it. Because I don't know that I can do another big franchise because they keep getting bigger. And what I'd love to see is if Borderlands has to go down that route, at least make it look Borderlands 2-y enough that I'm like, this is the ultimate Borderlands game, just keep giving me more of this. If they nail that, then actually I guess I could kind of be on board with that. But, I mean, even so, the game is still likely 2 years away. The industry is going to shift massively by then. We're going to get close to another generation by then.
Yeah.
Like, who knows what it could look like?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the fear almost, is that like you just don't know. Like this could be, they could turn it into a completely different thing. It's like the heart of Borderlands, but it's like an MMO now. Like all of these things can happen.
I feel like Borderlands. Sorry to jump in there. I feel like Borderlands is a very odd series because, like, at the heart of it, it's just a shooter with some loot in. Like, it's just a shoot and loot game. But it's come so far in just 2 games. Like, the story has come so far, the gameplay has come so far. Well, no, but what I mean is the jump between 1 and 2, because pre-sequel was good, but it was kind of an expansion on 2.
Yeah.
And it's come so far that, like, if it goes any way in the wrong direction, I'll feel really bad for it because I care about the franchise so deeply. But really, if they released a slightly different game, a slightly different Borderlands game by any other name, I don't know that I could look at it and go, that's so bad. Like, Destiny 2 could easily be... Destiny 2 could easily be what Borderlands 3 is. And if it looked like that just by a different name, I don't know that I'd be able to pick it out and go, that's so not Borderlands. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, that got heavy.
Yeah.
The final piece of news this week is a really surprising one, I would say. In a week full of birthdays and seemingly upreses, LA Noire is getting a re-release on the newer consoles. Most interestingly, though, it's getting a release on 2 new platforms, and those new platforms are Nintendo Switch and the HTC Vive. On the Xbox One and PS4, it will receive upreses and fancy new cinematic camera angles. And on the Nintendo Switch, it's going to receive a new control scheme, because it would kind of have to. And on the HTC Vive, it's receiving a special pack of VR exclusive missions. What are your thoughts on this?
Right. So much to unpack. You just give me loads of things to unpack. Yeah, I'm really excited for them to do this because I really enjoyed LA Noire, and it's something that like it's very much its own thing, and there's not really been anything that's kind of close to it in terms of what they tried to do. And like I definitely want to see more of it. So I'm really hoping this is like another one of those tests. They get this through, and it's kind of this is where LA Noire 2 comes out.
Yeah, definitely.
I would love that because it is so unique that they need to do something like. I need to see more of that game or something like that game, and it would be nice to see if they kind of can tighten up the faces. I don't know how much they're doing for it actually. What did you say they were doing for the upres?
So they're doing upres textures. I believe it'll support 4K on both the Pro and the Xbox One X. And new cinematic camera angles. I don't think they're going to tweak anything too heavily. And then on the Switch, it's getting a new control scheme.
Okay.
And on the Vive, it's getting a set of like VR missions. But I think they're just the original case files tasked for VR.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's really cool then. I might pick it up.
Yeah.
Because it is a series that I say series. It's a game I want to become a series.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I love LA Noire. It reminds me of a AAA Telltale game.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we'll ever see an LA Noire 2. I think it just doesn't really fit into the market. But I think if ever we were to see an LA Noire 2, it's coming out of this, right? And it's kind of a shame that, like, upreses are being used to test the ground for new games. But LA Noire didn't get anywhere near the reception I think it deserved. It was kind of good to middling. But just like you say, it was so unique and it was so clever that I think it deserves another opportunity to get into people's hands, even if it's not as many hands as perhaps it deserves.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a sleeper hit, though. It's one of those... like lots of people you talk to, at least on like gaming Reddits, will have played it and enjoyed it, and like it's a big game for them.
Yeah,
But then
true.
it just wasn't like these things are made popular if they all sell at once. It's kind of like you have to have good sales at the first week to be good, to make it into the charts and all that. And I think LA Noire is a well-remembered game and a well-enjoyed game, but it needs. Hopefully, this will kind of show that it can be like a big hitter. Hopefully,
Yeah, hopefully so. Hopefully so. I'm just really looking forward to playing this on Xbox without having to switch out between 3 discs. That'll be fun.
Was it really like that?
Yeah, it was on 3 discs, and the first 2 sections of it were on 1 disc, the second 2 on another, and the final 1 on the third. And
Wow.
if you wanted to replay the game, but like in segments, it got messy.
Is this Was it the same on PS3? Oh no, PS3 had Blu-ray.
It was, yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's really interesting.
But it led us to thinking this week that LA Noire is unique for a number of reasons, and one of the reasons it's unique is because it has one of the most unique art styles that we've seen in games for a little while. It was genuinely, authentically 1940s feeling, 1940s, 50s. So that led us to thinking, what are some of the other games, especially in a week with Borderlands being talked about so much, that have the most interesting aesthetics in video games? So I guess we should just go back and forth on this one.
Okay.
Do you want to start, or shall I?
Yeah, I'll start. This one you might not have played, actually. It's kind of a game that's kind of had a big effect on me. I really enjoyed it. Is American McGee's Alice, Madness Returns.
Quick point on that. Side news story. Did you see he's starting the process of another one?
Yeah, I did. I'm quite excited for it. I'm quite excited that hopefully it builds the response that he's wanting to get so that he can get the funding for it.
I was going to say, he kind of did a social media Kickstarter.
Yeah, he wants to kind of get enough people to kind of say, we want this.
I kind of think it would be better if he just, like, I don't know, if he did a screenshot or a couple of things and announced, hey, I'm making Alice 3, and then if enough people were into it, like, he'd be able to go, EA, I'm making Alice 3, and enough people weren't, he'd probably still be able to go to an indie house and go,
yeah,
look.
Yeah, and it's not a game that's entirely, like, it could come from an indie place.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's not a game that has to kind of be AAA developed.
I mean, when you think of it, you don't think of EA.
No.
But I wonder if this is something they are going to take up because of their whole taking risks on game things these days. Anyway, this is beside the point.
Yeah,
American Alice's aesthetic.
Yeah, it's got a very beautiful and also kind of quite dark and twisted world to it. I think like one of the amazing things it does in that game is kind of each different location you go to, your character changes in terms of like outfit, the whole environment changes, everything kind of shifts, and it really has quite a unique art style. It's quite a unique kind of artsy game. But yeah,
that's cool. I've not played it. I'm not really good with horrors, but it does look really, really fascinating, and I love Gothic takes on Alice in Wonderland because of the whole history with Lewis Carroll. So. Yeah, absolutely, yes. My first pick for this would be BioShock.
I had this.
Damn. Okay.
You've removed. No, it's fine. Go on.
No. We can do this together.
No, it's fine. Come on.
Because I think we're going to be speaking about different things here. When I say BioShock, what immediately comes to my head is Infinite.
Yeah, okay. Okay, go on.
Like it's. I respect that BioShock 1 had a really beautiful art style and a really unique world, but BioShock Infinite did sci-fi like I've not seen sci-fi done before. Like it felt so old-timey and so out of place, but in a way that was like the future, not like past old-timey. Like LA Noire feels out of place because it feels of a previous era that I wasn't a part of. Whereas BioShock felt genuinely like it's the future reliving that time. And in any kind of medium, it's so hard to nail that because you have to replicate a time that has passed and then the technology of the future. And it did it so convincingly that I don't replay Infinite very often, but if ever I were, or whenever I look at anything from Infinite, I can look at that and go, that is a beautiful part of that game. And I think very few games have that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very fair analysis of it. I was kind of more thinking towards the earlier Bioshocks, as you say. Um, I think one of the things they do really well is kind of presenting this um, location that we haven't really seen much before. It's kind of very one of the great things about the game is it's quite new to gaming, at least. Kind of presenting the underworld world, the underwater world, and it does it really well, making kind of use of the environment and use of different like cues here and there to make things feel very alive and then kind of dead at the same time. But I think they're really good at making art. Bioshock Studios,
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't remember who it's just terrible.
It's 2K, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh fuck! What if 2019's Bioshock? In genuine terms, though, we know that they've been making a Bioshock game for a while, and we don't know what it is or where it is. And like, I'm excited for Borderlands, but I'm super excited for Bioshock because Bioshock to me has
Really?
kind of it's got a very Black Mirror feel in that lots of different stories can take place in lots of different places. And there's only a little bit that ties them together, but because of that, they feel so unique and so different and so vibrant. And, like, we have no idea what the next Bioshock is going to look like. It could go back to Rapture. It could go back to Columbia, but I don't think it's going to. And I can't envision what that series looks like, which is super exciting.
Yeah.
Because one day we're going to see it. And I have no idea what that looks like.
Yeah, I'm hoping... Yeah, this is one of the ones that I really do hope that we don't get spoiled, because what's going to happen is we're going to watch an E3 trailer and go, what's this? It looks really cool. It's like, I don't know, in a mountain, in space or something, I don't know.
But that's
and we're
exactly
going to go,
it. Like, it could look like Uncharted, it could look like Tomb Raider, it could look like Tacoma, it could look like Metro. And, like, the title of Bioshock will come up. And I know, like, it's going to be an E3 reveal. We will be sat down on the sofa, and the moment that happens, I know, like, it's just going to be a moment of excitement.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited to see what that is.
Yeah.
Right. My next one for aesthetics is Overwatch.
Okay.
I love Overwatch.
I knew this was coming.
Really?
Nah, go on.
The thing I really like about Overwatch is that Overwatch took the MOBA style of making characters. So in lots of kind of online multiplayer games, you get, here's this character, here's the other here's character number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And a lot of the time I feel they're quite disposable because you're not really meant to connect to them. You're meant to play them for their utility, right? And Overwatch does that same thing. Here's character 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But I don't know how, but they make them feel really tangible. And I think it's because their art style ties into their backstory, which ties into their gameplay. Like, Mei looks like a snowy warrior because she's from a snowy backstory, and her and that ties into her powers. And so the whole art style is ingrained in what the game does and how it plays, depending on how you pick it up. And so I've not connected with as wide a range of characters as much as I have with Overwatch, to the point where I can see like symbols for them and know, oh, that's this character. Or when they're teasing the next big character reveal, I already know, oh, that's Anna, that's Doomfist, that's this, that, the other, because of how tangible they make that world feel. And a big part of it is down to the art. So I think Overwatch doesn't get enough credit for that, because a lot of the times people think of it as kind of bright and colourful and a bit kind of everyone had a hand in designing this. But more than that, it's a massive utility for the game, and that's a real testament to their design quality.
Yeah, okay.
Your go.
I like it. Okay, I'm gonna say Assassin's Creed. Let's go with kind of the 2 Brotherhood Revelations kind of saga.
Yeah.
I just loved kind of it's not just kind of the way that it presented the world was beautiful. Like, I remember at the time, I'm probably, like the whole, what's it, nostalgia goggles, and you think when you pick it up now, it's probably not going to be quite as good as you remember it.
Have you seen that HD remaster?
I haven't, actually.
That game is murky as hell. Like, it's beautiful, but I never remember it being that brown.
That's the thing, is like, I'm sure like if I pick it up now, I'd be quite surprised, but I think it looks really beautiful in the way it presents kind of the real world. and then it looks beautiful in the way it presents kind of the past and the present, but then also kind of like the merging in between when you're in the Animus and like things kind of glitch and all that kind of stuff. I think I remember playing that game and thinking of it as the most beautiful game I'd played at the time. Again, I can imagine picking it up now and going like, "What the?" But definitely, I remember kind of like looking out at the. For a long time, my background on my computer was just like one of the a screenshot I'd taken on top of one of the towers, which is kind of like the horizon. So yeah, beautiful game. Yeah, I think its art style really drew me in. That's all.
Yeah. If I was going to talk about Assassin's Creed, I'd have to talk about 2 specifically, because one of the most important things, in my opinion, about 2 is how believable the little glitches and computer interactions are. Like, the future in the present in Assassin's Creed is portrayed really uniquely, considering that you're basically locked in a company for 3 or 4 games. But I can look at a game and know that's the future in Assassin's Creed, and everything from like the architecture of the future to the costume designs and like just the little bits that you wouldn't necessarily notice are standout. Like, I've got Desmond's hoodie for a reason, and it's because there aren't other characters that are designed like that, despite the fact that he just looks like a regular guy. And I will say, the Assassin's Creed movie was not good, but it did nail the feeling of the future. It nailed the architecture, and it nailed that kind of looking out at nothing feel that you get in the future of Assassin's Creed.
And I think, like, I mean, I actually watched it on the plane.
Oh, right, okay. What did you think? I'm fascinated by this.
It wasn't great. But you're kind of right in the sense that, like, I remember in Assassin's Creed 3 when we're in the present, and you run out, is it Assassin? No, wait. Isn't it? I can't quite remember what it is. But there's a certain point when in one of the games where you're running through Abstergo. It might actually be in the second one.
It's the end of... Pretty sure it's the end of Brotherhood. Oh, no. Yeah, you're right. It's the second one. Yes. Yeah, you're right.
And I think there is a bit in 3 as well. I think the bit in 3 is the bit that I'm remembering, but I'm not sure. But I remember kind of when you saw what Abstergo Labs look like, it's like exactly like in the game. They did a really good job of making it look exactly the same as kind of the game did. But yeah, in terms of like quality of the movie, it's not the worst thing, but it wasn't particularly great. I didn't kind of leave and go, yeah, this was the best movie I've seen this year.
Yeah, no, definitely. Quick side note, there's been, if you don't want spoilers for the new Assassin's Creed game, don't listen for the next 2 minutes. There's been a leak of some art assets from the new Assassin's Creed game, and the future is in it. Like, Abstergo is still in it. And I am fucking hyped. Because... Like in a proper way? What's that?
Like in a proper way?
Yeah, like there are character models and shit. Like it's not like a voiceover this time. The future is there. And I've been excited about Assassin's Creed Origins for a little while, but I think this might be the first Assassin's Creed game I get properly into for a while. I'm pretty pumped about that game.
That's cool. That's really good, actually, because, like, I think, I've always been a massive fan, and then I was a massive fan of it around, like, Revelations and around 3. I can't remember if it was you or someone else I talked to about 3 before it came out. But I know, we were super hyped for it. And then it kind of like didn't quite do it. And then we argue about what's the one?
4.
Let's see. Yeah, 4. We argue about 4, but like I really want them to kind of get a big hit again, because I think since Revelation, all of their games have been kind of some people have liked them, some people haven't.
Yeah,
they haven't been like massively popular. I'd love for it to be a good hit. Yeah.
And we've said many times, and we'll say many times again, Assassin's Creed is one of the most unique stories in games, and even like no matter how you interact with it, even if you don't necessarily like the games, find a way to enjoy the story, because they're really cool, and games don't really tell complex stories like that often, so it's cool that there is one like Assassin's Creed that does, or tries to at least.
Yeah.
My final shout for this is the eye-rolling cliche for me that is the Arkham games.
Okay.
I love the Arkham games. I don't want to say that I grew up watching the animated series, because that's not really true. But I know it was there in my childhood. Like, it wasn't... We didn't really have Saturday morning cartoons in the traditional American sense. So, like, at least not until later in our lives, I'd say. And so I can't really remember, like, sitting down every week to watch the animated series. But I know those characters and the look of that world. And I know that it played a part. I remember watching it and that it was important to me. And the Arkham games are such a faithful realization of that in so many ways that you just have to hand it to Rocksteady. Like, the cities I don't think could fit in any other game other than a Batman game. Asylum definitely couldn't. The character models feel lifelike and genuine but cartoonish. The nightmare sequences and the little cutaways are different, but they're not so different that they don't fit in. It's really hard to make a concise video game where you're going off and doing 20 different things, but the Arkham games manage it, and they manage it because they are taking a pre-established world and making it and redoing it for a new generation. And God love them, Kevin Conroy came out this week and said they're not doing another Arkham game. Like, that's it, Rocksteady is done with it. And God love them, that's the right choice to make, because they made 3 absolutely knock 'em out the fucking park games, and they are not going anywhere.
Yeah. Okay. No, I agree, and I really do enjoy the art style of the Arkham games very much so. And you're right, they hit on kind of making it a comic book world, but then also kind of the real world, and it does fit through both of those. Especially because, like, you know, the Joker obviously comes up, but even like all of the villains kind of fit both there. They feel like real characters, but they also fit in their comic book kind of depictions, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, then, give me your last one, and we shall wrap this up.
So I'm going with a game that I played this year and really enjoyed. Is Nier Automata. It's a beautiful game. Kind of mix of different art styles here and there.
So I haven't played Nier. Is there a lot of red in it?
A lot of red.
Like a lot of red in the art style?
Not particularly, I wouldn't think. I don't think apart from the explosions.
That's really disappointing, because I was really hoping to make a joke about how red is it. Would you say it's near a tomato?
No, I'm afraid not. It's very verdant.
Verdant, bloody hell!
Yeah. I'm posh now, you know. Yeah, it's yellow and green. Yeah, it's a beautiful game for its art style, and it's got probably one of the best kind of UIs of recent games, in terms of like what it does and kind of how it interacts with the world and the screen. Like, it's a very unique art style, very different, and something that's kind of, hopefully it has an effect on kind of the future games from the studio and kind of other games. Yeah, so I think, like, it's, I don't quite know like how it did it. It kind of it makes this very kind of empty world. The art style used kind of makes the world feel very vibrant and green, but then also very empty. You know, like the choice of even the way the characters are designed are made in this kind of unique way. It's very, because in the case of Nier Automata, like everything's kind of manufactured. So everything has like a manufactured look, from the characters that you play to the enemies. So yeah, I think like it's a game that really caught me with its art style specifically, actually, kind of first.
Right.
It's kind of what hooked me in.
I mean, it's very hard to accurately portray desolation. So that's, I mean, a massive tick for that game to begin with. So, any final thoughts on game aesthetics?
No. A long pause, just like, no.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was our topic of the week. And you should tell us if we've missed any video game aesthetics, because we probably have. What are the ones that stick? Yeah. What are the ones that stick in your mind? Let us know in the comments below, or on the comments on this Facebook post, or any tweets, or anywhere else we post this. We post this show That's Games Up Podcast, every Monday at 6:30 p.m. on YouTube. But earlier that day on iTunes, you can get it on your way to work. And if you feel like joining us for the ride, we'd love it if you subscribed, as well as liking this video so that we could get out in front of a few more people. Or you can rate us on iTunes if you want, but I don't think we're big enough for that to make quite a difference yet. Nonetheless, you're welcome to. Thanks very much for joining us. Cheers, Lewis. Again, congratulations for your fantastic month.
Thank you.
You're welcome, buddy. And I will see you in a couple of weeks for EGX, but we will see you next week for Games Up Podcast. But until then, the game's up.